We'll do it live.
Okay. No.
We'll do it live. It. Do it live. I'll write it and we'll do it live.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode. It is Thursday, February 1st. Welcome back to What Was That Live, or welcome for the first time to What Was That Live. Yesterday was a bit of an exciting day. Went out on the streets, on the road. We were following a fire that happened in Los Angeles. While also talking a little bit about Alina Habba. And basically, we could combine the two and say it's just a complete fire. It's a dumpster fire of a situation for Donald Trump, Alina Habba, the rest of his legal counsel. But today, I was going to talk about something completely different. I just completely forgot what I was going to do. But then I saw this clip that Donald Trump had reposted on Truth Social with John Voight. And if anyone's been following John Voight over the last, 7, 8, 9 years or so, pretty much since Donald Trump announced that he was going to be running for president, John Voight, especially in the last few years, has become this like right hand kind of like messenger, if you will, on behalf of God and Donald Trump. And then it actually inspired me to start writing a scripted episode for the show about Donald Trump and his fake religious movement, his fake religious supporters, everyone who says God is the answer and Donald Trump was, picked by God himself to run for president and save us all. Because as we all know, that's what happened. So I wanted to go over this video from John Voight, and I also wanted to bring up some other clips of either, MAGA, especially talking about how Donald Trump was chosen or how Donald Trump was picked or how, Mike Johnson is Moses and Donald Trump is Moses, according to Jim Caviezel, who also claims that himself, Jim Caviezel, is Jesus because he played Jesus in Passion of the Christ, and he has carried that cross the whole time since doing that movie with Mel Gibson. But it's not just those people that are in a leadership position or in an influential position. It's also the base. The base are these people really do believe that Donald Trump was picked by God himself, which is, oh boy, insane to think about. That Donald Trump will be the person, that Donald Trump, a man who has had affairs, he has been married multiple times, he has cheated on his partners, his wives, he's we know that he paid off Stormy Daniels, we know that he was cheating on every one of his wives. There's question as to whether he's cheating on his current wife Melania with Alina Habba. Who knows? A lot of people wonder how Alina Habba got first chair on his legal team. And you might wonder, maybe it's because they were playing a little hanky-panky, as Donald Trump liked to describe the encounter, the sexual abuse, the rape of E. Jean Carroll, the way that he said it was like, oh, just hanky-panky, which is not the same thing. If I even need to make that difference or declaration there. But let's watch this video, and it's only like a minute and a half. So we'll watch it and we'll go back through and we'll kind of critique it in real time. So it's actually, and here's the thing, it's not even a new video, to be honest. It's an existing video that was from 2023, but it just shows you how much Donald Trump is dependent on using, almost senile people like John Voight to spread this message, which I also want to point out that whenever I watch these videos with John Voight in them, it really makes me think that someone is holding John Voight hostage somewhere and he's doing these as like ransom videos. They're decent in quality most of the time, but he's usually like in a nondescript location. He's got a blank wall, and sometimes he's got an American flag that's kind of like draping, which I'm sure is touching the ground, which isn't supposed to do, as any true constitutionalist, American red-blooded patriot would know. But here we go. This is John Voight in an insane video declaring, it's just, Psych, just kidding. You gotta watch for yourself. All right, so here we go. We got John Voight talking about Donald Trump. And remember, this is from 2023, so this is over a year and a half or so ago.
There is too much hate. We must never allow it to take over truths. He, Trump, has been targeted for his...
Okay, now I just want to point something out right now is he goes, he, Trump, because you don't want to confuse he with God, but that's how it's normally, capital H, lowercase e, he, as in God. But here, John Voight wants to specify, though in some way I believe that we're finding a, not conflating the two, but he's trying to join the two at the hip to say God and Trump are equal in their status, in their power, in their influence. Now, let's watch.
There's information that can knock down the corrupt swamp. Trump is the only man that can destroy the negative propaganda that has been sworn into this office.
Okay. So John Voight, right out of the gate, remember, this is from 2023. So Donald Trump has been on office for over 2 years at this point. He's saying that Donald Trump is the only person who could drain the swamp. Well, if that is true, then why didn't Donald Trump drain the swamp when he was in office from 2016 or 2017 till 2021? Why was he unable to do it then? Like, why wasn't, and if there was ever one true thing that was said by Ron DeSantis during this whole failed campaign that he had, he was asked at one point about Donald Trump draining the swamp. And he said, well, how would Donald Trump be able to drain the swamp in 6 months if he had 4 years in office and the highest office in the land? Why would all of a sudden Donald Trump be able to drain the swamp in 2024 if he becomes president within the first 6 months if he couldn't do it in the last 4 years while he was president? It doesn't make any sense. The idea that it would, if you elect me now, I'll do it. But before I was like teasing, I was like kind of blue balling you all. I told you I would do it, and then I didn't do it. It doesn't make a lot of sense. And I know that obviously I'm preaching to the choir here, and you guys know this, but this is an example of someone who is so out there. I mean, John Voight saying that there is a deep state and there's a swamp and it needs to be drained. And look, I will agree, there is a swamp in DC. Okay, you can find him on both sides. Bob Menendez, that boy loves gold bars. Okay, he's part of the swamp. These people who are there for long periods of time who do no actual or have any actual added value. Then you've got, of course, tons of people on the right, Republicans who are either sex traffickers, Matt Gaetz, other people who are actual pedophiles or dabbling in child pornography, because that's great, because Jesus totally loved to diddle little kids. Then you've also got people who are having affairs, Lauren Boebert, Marjorie Taylor Greene. You also have other people in the right-wing caucus, the America First Freedom Caucus group, that are either cheating on their partners. I mean, even look at George Santos on his way out. He was saying that there were people in a Twitter live stream or in Twitter Spaces. He said that there were people from his party that were openly having affairs with lobbyists, and he was going to spill the tea. Now, we haven't seen that, but he has spilled some tea about people who are doing insider trading, or at least alluding to the fact that there was insider trading by using their government information to then act before the actual free market could. Which I think that the ability to trade stocks with insider information about things that are going to happen should not be allowed. There should not be trading allowed for people who are sitting as a lawmaker in office, Senate, Congress, what have you. I think that's unfair. It should not happen. We should remove that from any possibility of happening. So on the right, you have a lot of people who would really be going against the teachings of God, the teachings of Christ. These are people who, obviously, as we know, will go down to the border and put up razor wire and then look at the people who have tried to cross the border, who are seeking asylum to the land of opportunity, which is America. And because they were given that promise, come to our shores, come to our land, we will offer you an opportunity, because that's what this country was founded on, right? So when we have people who are seeking asylum from South America and other countries, they come to our country. They try to go over, through the Rio Grande, or they try to come in through Texas. They're encountered with razor wire that they get caught in, or they die, or there's children, there's mothers. Like, these are people who are innocent people that die or will die at the hands of Republicans. These are the same people who are told they're going to one spot, put on a bus, and then sent to a freezing cold location like Chicago or New York or wherever it might be. These are the people, Republicans, okay, these followers of Christ, these people who believe in God, are the ones that sent all these people and did this inhumane acts against these people. Those are the people that say, I love Christ. Christ is my God. I believe in him. I follow him. But at the same time, let me turn my way this way and make sure that I punish these people who are innocent that I don't even know. And Republicans love to say, oh, Gabe, no, you got to understand, there's people that are illegally coming over the border. It's an invasion. It's not an invasion. The phrasing and the terminology that they want to use is they want to scare you, right? It's not an invasion. Yes, there was a lot of people coming over the border, but at the same time, it's not an invasion. An invasion would imply that these people are coming over to take land. They're taking it by force. They're coming to kill people. When last I checked, literally this week, was a man who beheaded his father. Okay? To which, of course, the MAGA Republicans are saying, oh, it's MK Ultra, and it's a deep state this, and it's a PSYOP, and it's a false flag, and they're trying to come up with excuses. They're trying to protect themselves from being associated with someone who literally beheaded their father and then talked about going against the Biden regime, and we can't let this country be taken over by Biden. Doesn't really sound like a Democrat. Sounds more like a Republican. Sounds like someone who is deranged and out of their mind. I mean, I'm not saying to the extent that we see here in John Voight, but it's in that same pool of people, right? And if it was Marjorie Taylor Greene, she'd tell you that it was a peach tree dish of people that were the same group, okay? This is what we have here. We have John Voight. I don't know what he's doing now. But again, like I said, every one of these videos, it always looks he's in like some nondescript location, like a basement, or he's in his house somewhere, but you don't really know where he is. It's just kind of like, is this man all right? And the answer is no, he's not all right. But when you look at these videos, you're like, who's running the camera right now? Like, someone in his life is like, hey, maybe we should have a full-time like watcher, like a conservatorship, maybe we should have someone that just makes sure that he doesn't, tweet out things or make videos. Or if we do record a video, we go, yeah, grandpa, we're going to post that to the internet. And then of course, just send it over to the trash bin. So again, this whole idea that Donald Trump is going to drain the swamp and he can only accomplish that if he becomes president is complete bullshit. It's not going to happen. And Donald Trump, if anyone, is the person that injects more dirty, swampy creatures in the lagoon. Okay. That is someone who made sure that his family benefited financially from companies that he did not divest from while president, even though that's been the standard, right? You put it into a blind trust. You make sure that someone else has control over it. You do not have any investment financially inside of whatever the company is, whatever it might be. But then you find out that Ivanka Trump gets a bunch of patents in China accelerated to a degree that no one else would have. You've got Jared Kushner getting $2 billion from the Saudis. You get Jared and Ivanka making $640 million or so million dollars while in office. And again, these are people that do not have an actual history or experience that would justify them being in this type of role. So now, hold on. Wait. I gotta, hold on. What is this? I saw Seth Abramson. If anyone knows the history between me and, I just want to quickly for a second, go on a little tangent here. Seth Abramson is someone who got tricked by a fake Trump post that I made last year. He got so upset that he told his 900,000 followers in a thread that was like, Seth Abramson loves to do threads that are like 300 parts. If you've ever seen it, he probably does even longer than that too. But Seth Abramson told his 900,000 followers that they should block me because I made a fake post. It was a spoof. It was a joke. It was talking about how there was news of Joe Rogan talking about Donald Trump on his podcast and Ron DeSantis. And before Ron DeSantis even announced, right, I could already smell the blood in the water. And I made a fake post way before he announced, like almost a year before he announced. And it was making fun of, it was a Donald Trump. It was a post that he made about Ron DeSantis and Joe Rogan. The internet took it. It spread like wildfire. A bunch of people thought it was real. I just held off. I didn't want to comment on it. And then Seth Abramson, who claims to be a journalist, took that post and just spread it. He shared it and said, oh, looks like Donald Trump is on another one going against Ron DeSantis. Seth Abramson, as a journalist, did not do his due diligence. He didn't look into it, didn't research it. He just accepted it blindly, which, again, if you claim to be a journalist and your whole thing is politics and you're covering Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis because you believe that those are going to be the people running against, those are going to be the only people running, by the way, he turned out to be wrong. If you take something blindly from the internet, that's not on me. That's not on me. I came out later, right? I was fact checked and I taught and I gave a quote and whatnot, but that's not on me. You should not get upset at me. The person you should get upset at is yourself, because you just took it because you wanted to believe it to be true. It ended up being true in real life. Move over, Nostradamus. But Seth Abramson got so mad that he was like, everyone should block Gabe Sanchez. And it was 900,000 followers. And he said I was a threat against democracy. Now, if we're really going to be throwing around terms or like phrases of threat against democracy, I really think the person that's a threat against democracy would be someone in the Republican Party. I don't know. He's got like this comb over, orange hair, orange tan. Oh, man. It's like Donald Trump, the guy that literally said he wanted to be a dictator. So Seth Abramson, I don't take him seriously because I feel like he's a little too emotional and reactive at times. And he also believes that he's the end-all, be-all truth when it comes to politics and actual commentary. When I just think that he's another person that claims to be this person. So, I mean, yeah, if you follow him, that's fine, whatever. It's, I don't really care. But Seth Abramson is someone who believes that he's always right and then never admits when he's wrong. And he's wrong more times than he's right. Anyway, back to this. Let's get to John Voight.
Can he be saved with the American people who believe in God's glory? Can we save our nation from the dark cloud that has been put upon our life streams? Yes, because Joshua promised the land of hospitality, and his sword of righteousness fought the battles left and right, the battles of right and wrong. And Jesus said that man can rise above darkness, that he can be saved with this understanding, this truth. Believe, and he shall finalize the Holy Ghost, the light of God's happiness for all to rise. And this truth can open the ways for the gifts to be. Believe that the man that can help this nation, the one man that was ridiculed, destroyed as Jesus, Trump.
Okay. I mean, he's only like 5 seconds into making this comparison, but if you couldn't catch it, what's happening here is he is going to make the comparison that it's 1-to-1. Donald Trump is Jesus, and they are correct. They are directly connected because Donald Trump was ridiculed and destroyed just like Jesus was. Now, I come from, I grew up Catholic. And I, in high school, I studied Christianity and I read the Bible, more of interest than actual like belief, just because it allowed me to have debates with people and talk about certain things, and talk about someone with a difference of opinion. So I grew up in a Catholic household and a Catholic grade school, and I went through that. So that's like instilled, the guilt is there, baby. Like it is all there. So when I hear someone make a comparison of how they are just like the trials and tribulations that they went through, the suffering that they had to go through and endured was because, or rather is the same as Jesus, which is insane to think about. What I want to understand is how is Donald Trump, a man who literally did things and continues to do things that go against the teaching of Christ, So in that sense, if you want to say he's the Antichrist, that's on you. Probably pretty close to him. But if he's doing the opposite of that, which is he does not care for his fellow man, he does not feed them, does not shelter, does not, care for them when they're sick. He makes sure, I mean, he basically, or not basically, but he does break some of the 10 Commandments, right? Where he commits adultery several times. I talked about it a moment ago on the show, which is he commits adultery. That's like, boom, right there. The idea that Donald Trump is actively or proudly breaking the 10 Commandments, which if you come back to it, you got Mike Johnson saying that he's Moses. Like, this is his Moses moment for him. You've got Jim Caviezel saying that he's Jesus and Donald Trump is Moses, and he's got to lead his flock. This is a red parting of this. This is a parting of the Red Sea moment. Okay. These are the people. They love to quote scripture like Marco Rubio, except they do not follow it. So right now we've got a guy, again, completely deranged out there. Like, I don't know who's watching him, but the idea that he's saying Donald Trump went through the same things that Jesus went through. Now, if we roll back the clock like thousands of years here, then we'll understand that that's not true at all. Jesus, right, was betrayed, was sold over, and snitched on, essentially, let's just call it, for 30 pieces of silver, right? That's what happened. Judas was like, I need that coin. And he handed him over and said, yeah, I know where Jesus is going to be. And he turned him over, right? And then Jesus was, he had to carry the cross, and he was whipped, and he had a crown of thorns on him. He went to the top of the top of the mountain. They put in the cross. They put him up there, and they nailed in, which actually is his wrists, not his hands, because the weight would slide through. So they hit him in the wrist, hit him in the ankles, and then just to make sure that he died, hit him with the spear in the ribs. Right. So that's Jesus. That's what he went through. Those are all the things that they did to him to torture him before he died, and just left him up there and like, great, he's dead. Now, if we're really going to make this comparison, was Donald Trump ever, was he ever arrested? Did he ever have to carry a cross on his own, fall multiple times, let no one help him? Was he ever crucified? Was he ever killed? Like, these are not things that actually happened. And the comparison of destroying someone's character or destroying Donald Trump because they don't like him, it's all witch hunt or whatever, to Jesus Christ. I mean, like, holy shit, Jesus Christ. That is an insane comparison to make. But in the next 21 seconds, I'm sure John Voight will really double down on that.
And come back and save the American dream for all.
Oh, God.
And make America great with the dignity, with the power of who she is. The land of freedom, God's land, God's glory.
God's land.
The USA.
Okay, again, okay. Well, not only does he do that, but then he makes a resurrection reference. So he says, Donald Trump will come back after he was crucified and everyone went out to kill him, that he's going to resurrect himself because he's God, Jesus, Moses, whatever combination of the mix. He resurrects himself and comes back to the land, God's land, America. Because for, whatever reason, only America is God's land, not the rest of the country or the rest of the world, not the other continents, these other places in the world. No, it's just America. America is God's land. And anyone else, like, I don't know, doesn't even include the Vatican, I guess, is not God's land. Like the Holy City, that's not God's land. Nope, not God's land. Just America, just America. That's the only one that matters here. Oh my God, this is insane.
Much love to you.
Much love to you. Much love to you. Much love to you. And see, like, the reason I wanted to bring it up is because that, even though this from June 2023, it brought up this. I was like, I'm going to have to end up making an episode about this. So why not talk about it on the show today? This is Mike Johnson. When they were going through voting and trying to elect a Speaker of the House, after they ousted Kevin McCarthy, which was instigated, it was started by Matt Gaetz, who didn't like the fact that the ethics committee was investigating him for the alleged sexual relationship encounter, whatever you want to call it, the allegations against him with a 17-year-old girl. Remember the crossing state lines, the human trafficking. He was in connection with Joel Greenberg. He was the one that was, they were making fake IDs. They were associated with Roger Stone, because of course, I mean, all of these people are connected. These people who claim to be God's chosen ones or the holy ones or whatever you want to call them, they're all connected in their shady dealings. You don't even have to play 6 degrees of separation. It literally is a degree or 2 away from each other, where somebody is down there on speed dial for another person who is doing whatever illegal thing. And so Matt Gaetz ousts Kevin McCarthy because he doesn't like the fact that they're investigating him. And he went to Kevin McCarthy and said, hey, you got to kill this investigation. Kevin McCarthy said, I don't have control over this ethics committee, which I want to remind everyone that is a majority held committee. Okay. So it's their own party that run that committee. So it's not even a deep state. It's not a fucking cabal thing. It's not a George Soros thing. It's a Republican thing. An issue was brought up. The DOJ investigated. They said, we're not going to pursue this, though, again, TBD on whether they actually killed the case entirely. There seems to be some speculation that it was still like open, but they weren't they said, we're not going to go forward with it. So then the ethics committee said, okay, fine, we'll bring it up, because there's been some evidence and some information has come forward that we want to do an investigation. So they open it up. And that's why this whole ousting of Kevin McCarthy happened. The backstabbing, this Brutus moment for Caesar, if you will, that was Matt Gaetz. And so Mike Johnson is going to talk about that experience, but he's also going to relate it directly to God speaking to him and saying that you are Moses. You're my Moses. You're my Moses, Mikey. Just watch. Should be up. Let's refresh this. Oh no, where'd it go? There we go. Can't hear it. Can you hear it? Should have audio. No. Okay. No one can hear it. Anyway, here, let me find another one. There's another clip of Johnson with Laura Ingraham, and they're talking together about how, let's see if I can find it. Oh, why won't this play? Son of a bitch. Oh, this is frustrating. Okay, hold on. Okay, here's one with Johnson where this is a recent one too. This is one where Donald Trump, or they asked Mike Johnson during a press conference if he had spoken to Donald Trump. If Mike Johnson had spoken to Donald Trump in regards to the border situation, right? Because of course, Republicans say, oh, the border, that's the biggest problem we have. To which Democrats say, great, we've got a bipartisan bill in the Senate. Let's push this bad boy over to the desk of the president, because he says he will sign it. He'll give you the funding, the resources, the manpower, whatever you guys need, which has caused even the Republican parties, people in the Republican Party are like, this is dumb. Why are you not doing this? And the reason that they're not doing this is because Donald Trump doesn't want them to give Joe Biden a win. And I said this on the show the other day, there are 3 pillars to Joe Biden's campaign, which is going to be COVID, right? Healthcare related, and how during his term, he was able to bring us back to a pre-COVID public interaction, right? Some people still wear a mask. That's totally fine. There are people who have, healthcare measures out there, protective healthcare measures that actually care about the well-being of those who they live with, right? Whether they be elderly or people who are, compromised immunity-wise. Then you've also got financial pillar, right? That's the market, right? You look at another record that was just placed today and how the market ended. Again, don't believe it. Go look at your portfolio. Go look at your 401k. Go look at your Roth IRA or your traditional IRA or your insurance premiums. Like, look at how those are doing. You find that under Joe Biden, it crazy. When you invest in America, it actually has benefits long term as you rebuild an economy coming out of a slump that had no growth, no stimulus really. Because remember, they all gave us like $1,800 or $2,000 collectively over a 2-year period, thinking, hey, that's enough money to survive during a pandemic, right? So when you look at the wins and growth that have happened in our economy and in the general consensus of COVID and our healthcare system, right? Not the best. Republicans want to strip it away, but we've seen improvements there. We've seen an investment in infrastructure. We've seen an investment in technology with chips, making them produced here. So they're not all produced in Shenzhen over in China, where it's literally that's all it is. It's fabricated, that in Taiwan, right? Fabricating chips, that's all that it is. So we want to make sure that is an industry that we can establish here so we can be a competitive force going forward, because we know that there's only so many markets or economies that we can actually build to lower the cost of goods and lower the cost of manufacturing development if we do it ourselves instead of sending those things overseas. Because remember, Republicans love to say made in America, America first. Okay, great. So that we did that, and Republicans voted against it. So you have to look at how these are things that go against the Republican Party. Again, COVID, financial, and the third one is security. The third one they cannot let up on, because that would be the border. If Joe Biden gets a bill that is bipartisan from both the Senate and the House, and it goes to his desk and he signs off on it, that is a direct initiative that Joe Biden, who again has openly said he wants, and he's like, work with me on this, send me the bill, I'll sign it right away. But Republicans don't want to do that, because if they do that, that means that Joe Biden gets that win under his term as we go in to the 2024 election cycle. So again, you've got the border security, you've got COVID healthcare stuff, and you've also got financial, the economy, the market. You look at how things are recovering. And if you have those three things, you say, well, is your life better now than it was during Trump, right? Is your life right now better than it was during Trump's administration? And that's the comparison that's going to be made, on top of the fact that, Donald Trump doesn't know the difference between Nancy Pelosi and Nikki Haley, or doesn't know the difference between Obama and Biden. This is a guy who continues to brag about a cognitive test that is used for detecting dementia. I mean, it's literally in the name, right? The Montreal Cognitive, that's what the C in MoCA is, Montreal Cognitive Assessment. And this is their guy. This is the guy who, by the way, again, was just held accountable for raping E. Jean Carroll, because he continued to defame and think, oh, I can talk all the lies about her that I want after I was given a $5 million charge against me the first time through in May. Then he continued to defame. And then boom, we're back here. And for Alina Habba, she really struggled on this one. It was a damages trial. It wasn't there to determine whether Donald Trump did or did not rape E. Jean Carroll, because that was already set up the first time through. If she wanted to be fighting that front, she should have done it the first time. So now when she goes out and complains about, this is unfair and this and that, and Donald Trump is being unfairly attacked, and this judgment is not fair, and I wasn't able to bring in experts. Well, that's not our fault. That's not Judge Kaplan's fault. That's their fault. They didn't bring those things in the first time. Donald Trump refused the first time through. Remember this. He refused to go up on the witness stand and testify on his behalf, which, if you are, and again, most of the time your lawyer will say, if you're in a questionable situation, like it looks like you did this thing, or you really did do this thing, and the evidence is really outstanding or outweighing your side, maybe going on the witness stand isn't the strongest thing, right? You don't want to put yourself in that vulnerable position where they can cross-examine and have you reveal something else that goes against your character, that makes it look even worse for you, right? You want to let your lawyer do everything they can to break down the opposing side's argument. And they didn't do that the first time through. So they said, all right, $5 million in damages is what you owe. He defamed, $83.3 million on top of that. So we're nearly 90 million, almost 100 million, but really almost $90 million in damages collectively on Donald Trump because he defamed E. Jean Carroll. And it was proven that he did rape E. Jean Carroll. By the definition of the law, he raped E. Jean Carroll. That is a fact. So for all the MAGA out there, sorry, but that's what your leader did, okay? That's what he did. Again, this is the guy that John Voight and the Republican Party believe were chosen by God. The man who sexually assaulted and abused, the man who went on tape in a Hollywood Access bus said, I love to grab him by the pussy. That they love it. They love when I sexually assault them. They love it. They can't get enough of it. I'm a rich and famous guy. Rich, famous. They let me do it. They can't get enough, which is a disgusting thing to not only to say, to justify. And then you have every one of these, quote unquote, Christian evangelical people who are hypocrites in their own mind, right? They go and think, oh, well, God chose Donald Trump. He chose this man. He chose him to do these things. That's a really fucked up way to justify a man going and attacking women. It's gross. So you have Mike Johnson over here saying that God chose him to be Moses in this parting of the Red Sea moment, and Donald Trump is there, and this border, and this, and just listen.
President actually just got off the phone with me right before the show, and he said he has spoken to you about this deal and that he is against it, and he urged you to be against this deal. He was,
again, doesn't want to give Biden the win, so he's going to reject the deal. He's going to tell them, do not do this deal right now because I need it on the ballot in November. I cannot give this guy the win that he has in his pocket right now. So now they're trying to, as Patrick puts up here, like they're trying to backpedal. They're actively backpedaling in every way they can. Again, Biden was like, look, let's work together, man. You got a problem with the border? I agree. We should have a way to actually handle this. And they go, oh, well, no, on second thought, that's not actually what I meant. What I meant to say was, and so that's what you see them doing right now, that they're saying the deal's not good enough. Even though over on the Senate, they're like, yeah, man, we got a bipartisan deal ready to go. All we need is you guys to agree. We can send this, like, the Republican Party, again, you have people, even you have Dan Patrick, I saw even throw the Republican Party under the bus. He was like, this doesn't make any sense. Why are you guys doing this? So you do have some Republicans, some people from southern states who look at this and they say, well, why are you holding this up? This is a win for us. This is exactly what we asked for. And then you have the rest of them saying, no. We cannot give the win to Biden, which is causing this confusion because it's like, do you really want to protect this thing that you hold dear? You really want to hold down the fort at the border? Do you want this money and the funding and the resources, or do you not want it? Or is it the fact that you don't want it to happen under Biden? And it's the latter of those.
President Trump was extremely adamant about that. Your reaction to that, given the fact that, look, he knows how to do this enforcement stuff. You don't need some new bill coming out of the Senate to get the border enforced.
Yeah, President Trump is not wrong. He and I have been talking about this pretty frequently. I talked to him night before last about the same subject.
The president.
So what we have here is Mike Johnson being like, well, if Biden wants to do it, then he could go do it. Just go do it. You just go do it yourself. We're not going to work with you on this. Which is a kind of insane thing to consider, right? You're like, oh, you can go do this, and we're not going to, you know what? We're not going to be the ones to help you do it. Which is the same way, if you think about it, right? This border bill, right? This border protection bill is going to pass. It's going to happen. And the Republicans are going to go kicking and screaming because this is not a great thing to campaign on. the fact that you denied the thing that would address the very problem that you've campaigned on, which is, remember, they complained about inflation. They complained about gas prices. They complained about grocery prices. They complained about this. They complained about that. Every step of the way, we're seeing improvements and adjustments made based on bills and acts passed under Joe Biden, where, again, you invest in America. Now you have a situation where they've made this whole kerfuffle about how the border is an invasion. There's a caravan. Remember, Donald Trump created the word caravan. You've got this border issue down there, and Republicans keep complaining. They go, "Oh, we got to secure our border." Democrats are letting all these illegals come across the border. Man, we gotta shut it down. We gotta do this. We gotta do that. But when presented with the opportunity to fix the problem that they have complained about, remember, they've grifted on it. They've raised money. They've campaigned on it. They go do rallies. They give speeches. They get on their soapbox and they command to everyone that's following them, all of their sheep, that Democrats are the devil and they're stopping them from fixing the problem. They're letting all these illegals come across the border. They're letting them invade our country and vote in the 2024 election. That is not happening. That is not happening. Like, I'll take 1,000 for things that never happened. So when you have people like Mike Johnson be like, "Oh, well, just Joe Biden can do it himself." All right, so you want Joe Biden to work unilaterally, like you don't want him to work with anyone on the right because you don't want to give him that win. It's the same way they handled the Inflation Reduction Act and the CHIPS Act and the Recovery Act, right? These are all things that the Republicans said, we won't work with you on because that is socialism, which doesn't make any sense because I talked about a little bit about this on Tuesday, which was the idea that if you vote for these things or work with Democrats, all of a sudden, the flip of a switch overnight, this capitalistic country, this society that we've built here, this land of God, is going to become socialist, which is an insane thing to consider. And there is so much red tape to get things done as is. Okay. There is so much bureaucratic bullshit that people have to cut through. Even Donald Trump, when he deregulated certain things like when or how you dispose of toxic chemicals on a train, East Palestine, in those moments, right? Banking regulations that were put in place during the Obama administrations, Obama administration during or in response to what happened in 07, 08 when we had a recession, when the banks collapsed. Too big to fail. Wasn't that long ago. And it takes time to build up and implement, to make those protections and put those protocols in place. It's very quick to turn them off. It's very quick to cause that thing to become a harmful part of society. And we've seen that, right? You've seen it just in the last 2 years of things that were taken away that finally came into effect, like within a year or so after Donald Trump leaving. And then in addition to that, when you try to put those back in place to fix them, you've got even more work to do because there's additional damage that you have to recover for. So Republicans don't want to give they don't want to give Joe Biden the win. They want to give it to Donald Trump because Donald Trump, the man is desperate for wins. If he doesn't have this, he doesn't have anything. Remember, he disgraced our military. He called them losers and suckers. Whatever your opinion is on the industrial, like how our military is and the funding, which I agree is too much. But however you feel about that, you have to remember, like, those are people who actively went out and said, I will serve this country because that I believe is my right. And I want to do that. To bash those people and say they're all losers and suckers, right? They died for nothing or whatever it might be. That is who Donald Trump is, right? He talks shit about the people who served, who, by the way, Donald Trump dodged the draft. Remember, he had bone spurs. He got a doctor to say, oh, he had bone spurs. Oh, ow, my legs, my shins. Oh no, ow, it hurts. I can't serve. That was Donald Trump. He also, I think in one of them was an excuse that he said that he was getting his education, which that surely paid off. But Donald Trump has no wins under his column right now. Right? He had a Jobs Act in 2017 that has had negative impacts on us, the middle class, has caused more income inequality. You have a lack of regulations on the housing market because, no support from Donald Trump during his administration. You've got COVID that took place. Over 1 million people died through COVID. You have an economy that was hitting an all-time low because there was no stimulus. Nobody was using money because they didn't have any jobs. People were let go. They couldn't have businesses open. People could not interact because Donald Trump was like, oh, you don't have to do that. You don't have to wear a mask. You don't have to social distance, right? He was shitting on his medical team, throwing them under the bus and talking about putting bleach up your ass and injecting sunlight into your body. That's the guy that they think is chosen by God. Well, I guess if you think about it, it does make sense because like his concept or like beliefs of evolution is probably pretty limited to what the Bible says, even though the guy doesn't know the Bible at any point, right? He's been asked on several occasions, can you quote your favorite scripture or your verse or what's your favorite book, right? Book of John, Book of Luke, like what is it? And he's like, oh, I don't know. There's so many. It's the same response when Donald Trump is asked, oh, what's the most recent book you read? There's an interview, I want to say it's in the 90s, where he's asked this question, and he then claims that he's read the book about the topic that they're talking about on maybe Charlie Rose. It might be. I think it might be Charlie Rose. And he was like, oh, well, have you read this book? And he's like, oh, yeah, I read that book. And they're like, what was your favorite part? And he was like, oh, and then eventually they realized that Donald Trump did not read the book because Donald Trump doesn't know how to read. We know that. Donald Trump never wanted to read the briefs. He had such a short attention span that he'd be like, where's my Diet Coke? Fox News, Sean Hannity, Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham. Let's do that. Walt Nada, come out of the secret hiding place. I want my Diet Coke, right? He pushes a little red button. That is Donald Trump. And thankfully, Joe Biden was like, no, we're not going to give you access to these briefings anymore, which was probably the best move that we had to remove daily briefings from Donald Trump's purview, even though he was never going to read it. But the way that he held on to and handled classified documents, I'm glad that he never had that confidential classified information, because who knows who was in that bathroom or in that ballroom or in his office where all those other classified documents, classified, not declassified, classified documents were out in the open. I mean, it was a fucking bathroom with boxes stacked to the ceiling and then hidden behind a shower curtain. This guy was hiding them in plain sight. Like someone could just go into the bath. Oh, whoa, what is all this? Like a little bathroom reading. Oh, look, these are people that are spies overseas, or these are nuclear codes or information that we have on whatever it might be. Oh my God. It's just crazy to think about that this guy is somehow the person that they have chosen. And I don't know if it's because a majority of these people are really that dumb and they really believe this thing and they're so brainwashed. And I'm sure there are a fair amount of people, but there's probably also people within that party that realize that the downside of not supporting Donald Trump is they get primaried. And those people are incredibly dependent on having that job because they do not have any other job that they're qualified for outside of government. And a lot of these Republicans talk about term limits. We got to have term limits. Only 2 terms, only 3 terms. You can't have more than that. These people are solely dependent. They'll campaign on those things, but as soon as they get into office, they want to stay for life. They want that pension. That's the very reason that Lauren Boebert is running in Colorado's 4th district, is because she realized that she was going to be just demolished by Adam Frisch, right? She won by 546 votes in the 2022 midterms. And she realized that not only is Adam Frisch's advantage from a donation standpoint is way outside of her range, but the people have determined that she is no longer fit to be in office, right? It doesn't help that she was, playing pocket hockey with a guy from Aspen, Colorado, when they were going to see Beetlejuice the musical in Denver, Colorado. Then she had this debate, which I did on an episode on, and I'm going to end up doing another episode on Lauren Boebert, because not only was she ridiculed by or not supported by Marjorie Taylor Greene, but there was also like a press dinner that happened in DC, and I'm blanking on her name right now, but she's out of Michigan. She's a Republican representative. She just shit all over George Santos and Lauren Boebert. She was like, hey, everyone, give a hand check. I want to make sure, because Lauren Boebert over here was the one who caused a problem for us. But these are the people in their party that they are so lost. They don't represent us, the American people, their constituents. They campaign on certain things, but then they never deliver. Never deliver. And if they do deliver, it might be on something that's like, oh, we repealed this thing, or we cut the regulations, and then it ends up having a negative effect on our economy or in certain industries, which again, we have seen. And yes, I did say pocket hockey. That's what she did. She was playing, she's shuffling around the cue ball. You know what I'm saying? I'm sorry. That's what she was doing. And she was doing it around kids. And again, this is someone from the Republican Party who loves to preach and yell about how they love to save the children. They got to save the children. They got to save the children. But then what happens when they're given the opportunity to save the children? They won't even save the children who are trying to get to a better life on the border. I mean, how anti-Christian is that? How anti-human is that? Is the Republican Party do not care about anyone else. They don't care about non-white people, brown people, whatever. They don't even care about the people that voted them into office. And Lauren Boebert is an example of this. Mike Johnson is an example of this. Donald Trump, Marjorie Taylor Greene. These people will turn on you in a second. And Lauren Boebert is a great example, right? She was like, oh, competition's getting too hot in Colorado's third. Got to go to Colorado's fourth, which now she's in a race of 9 people and she's in the middle of the pack. She's about to lose her job. And I can't wait. I can't wait, because it is the perfect karma. It is so sweet. She lost any type of chance that she had. And remember, even before the vaping and groping incident happened at Beetlejuice, people from her district in Pueblo, Colorado, and in the surrounding areas were already done with her, because they had already established that Lauren Boebert was just there to be a celebrity. She just wanted screen time. She wanted the 15 minutes of fame. She wanted the moments where she could totally debunk someone's claim from the left, or that they could totally attack and boom, just punch him, like hit him down on the ground and just defeat him. 10 times out of 10, Lauren Boebert ends up making a fool of herself, as does the rest of the Republican Party. They don't know what they're doing. They don't want to do the job they were elected to do. They are false. They claim to be these false prophets and messengers of God. I mean, Lauren Boebert, another example, claimed to be the impeachment of Joe Biden that she delivered to the House floor, which Marjorie Taylor Greene got mad at her and called her a little bitch on the House floor. In that moment, she did it because she was like, oh, I was just delivering the message from God. God wanted me to impeach Joe Biden. That's also the same person who wished for death on Joe Biden when she was giving this like mega church sermon. Let me see if I can find that clip really quick. Why is Boebert alligators trending? Oh boy. Let me see. Okay. Oh God. Okay. You know what? We're just going to play this clip, because this is the reality we live in. Lauren Boebert, we have him. Oh my God. 19 seconds of Lauren Boebert on the topic of the border. This is why alligators is trending with Lauren Boebert. Jesus Christ.
I do believe that Robert Garcia did present to the nation our newest border bill with gators and an electric fence and spikes and missiles.
Just don't take any more taxes, but
I
I'm
will
cool with it.
co-sponsor that legislation. I'm happy to. I do believe.
Okay. Lauren Boebert wants to have electric fences and alligators at the border. So she wants to take alligators and put them in the Rio Grande? Like that? I just don't know anymore. You know, every day I think, hey, they can't possibly get any dumber, right? Yes. Yes, they can. The answer always is yes, they can. It's really something else. Lauren Boebert. Here I was looking for a clip of Lauren Boebert talking about how Joe Biden, let's see if I think it's prayer. If I look for it, let's see, go to media. Here we go.
Praise the Lord. I hope that blesses somebody. But I do want you to know I pray for our president. Psalm 109:8 says,
She had to Google that one, I'm sure.
may his days be few and another take his office.
So you have people there that are cheering for Joe Biden to die and somebody to replace him. Again, Lauren Boebert, praise be, loves God, claims to be a Christian. Yeah. And then it's like, you know, it's rich coming from the woman who allegedly had an affair with the cook in her Shooter's Bar and Grill, which is no longer open. Their lease was not renewed. She's the same woman who allegedly had an affair with the ramen shaman, John Voight, the other, evangelical Christian preacher, another grifter. This is the woman who, was, for whether it was an affair, whether it was the fact that she was married to an abusive husband, mind you, this is the guy that whipped out his dick and showed it to her when she was underage, as well as two other underage girls in a bowling alley, to which Lauren Boebert looked at him and said, that's him. That is the man. God sent that man to me and I'm going to marry him. And then she did. And then she had kids with him. And now those kids are real just gems, right? Those kids love to hold the guns at Christmas time and send out a photo for Christmas days after the Michigan school shooting, because that's not insensitive at all. And then you also have Lauren Boebert praising and being excited for the fact that her 17-year-old son got a teenage girl pregnant. And by all accounts, from what I've seen, the girl is 15, because when she was asked about the age of, I think it's 14 in Colorado. 17. But she said, let me see if I can find that. Boebert. When asked, and I'll just pull this up so people know that I'm not making this up, okay? We'll end on this note. Lauren Boebert, okay? When asked about the mother of this child, the mother of her grandchild, Lauren Boebert said, let me see if I can find this. Here we go. This is from the Denver Post. Boebert staffers on Friday confirmed the announcement that her son was going to be a father, a teenage father, just like she and her mother were, because her mother, so Lauren Boebert is 36, now 37, but she had him when she was 18 or so. And then her mother, Lauren Boebert's mother, had her when she was 18. So it runs in the genes, it runs in the family, who would have thought? Oh boy. Okay, so here's this. Boebert verified her son and his girlfriend are not married and declined to reveal the age of the girlfriend, other than to say she's over 14. Okay, if you can't see that clearly, look at this. Other than to say she's over 14, Colorado's age of consent is 17. Now, again, that's a weird one, right? If the age of consent in the state of Colorado is 17 years old, and you say she's over 14, that's not doesn't really feel good in my stomach about the possibilities of this girl being 15 years old. And I'm going to say that she's 15 because that is what I've seen online. That's what I've read in terms of what I've researched. Now, if Lauren Boebert wants to come at me and say that's not right and I'm lying, then she can prove that she's not 15. But the fact that the age of consent is 17 and you said she's over 14, that's making me real. I mean, like, the fact that she even said that, she's like, oh, she could have easily said, hey, that's private. I don't want to talk about that. That's my family. Please leave that alone. Instead, she goes, well, she's over 14. That is not, I mean, that is not the flex that you think it is. That is not the argument that should be coming out of your mouth to justify your son getting a girl pregnant. She's over 14. Oh, God. That is, in my eyes, I look at that and I say that's statutory rape. And again, I don't know how the state gets involved in the situation, but I'm sure it really is dependent on the family saying this is a crime or an act was done. And I'm sure the other family is going to say they're in love, they're having a kid. There are probably some other religious nuts that say this was God's plan, you know, hashtag Drake, God's plan. It's just wild to think that, like, this is a sitting member of Congress. Well, soon to be former sitting member of Congress. But the fact that Lauren Boebert goes, well, she's over 14. Bro, no, that's not the way you should answer that question. Wow. That's suspicious. Oh boy. It's gross and disgusting and suspicious and oh God, it's just Lauren Boebert really should remove herself from politics. Then again, so should every other Republican in office right now, because they either know about these types of things, right? George Santos knew about people having affairs. Mark Wayne Mullen, which, by the way, no one else in the history of mankind has ever been named Mark Wayne Mullen. Okay. Mark Wayne, one word, not a thing. He's literally the only person with that name. Mark Wayne Mullen going on CNN to tell them this is during the time in which Matt Gaetz was trying to oust Kevin McCarthy. Mark Wayne Mullen went on to CNN in an interview outside of the Capitol steps and said, oh yeah, Matt Gaetz would brag about how he would smash up, grind up ED medicine and do lines of it so that he could keep going all night, which is a gross thought to have on its own. But in addition to that, he said, oh yeah, he would show us videos and photos of girls that he had slept with. And we already know that to be true before. So this is just confirmation. There were reports, anonymous reports from people on the floor while on the floor, the state of representatives in Florida. Okay. They said while he was there that he would show and brag and promote the people that he had fucking his conquest or whatever he wants to call it of these girls. So we already heard reports of that. Then Mark Wayne Mullen comes over and he says, yes, I was around as a representative. Now I'm a senator. While I was representative, he also bragged about those things. And he showed us photos and he showed us video. And Mark Wayne Mullen held that in the back pocket the whole time. He didn't say anything until Matt Gaetz was going after Kevin McCarthy. And that goes to show you that Republicans, just another example. I mean, there's a long list of examples here, but that's just another example of how Republicans do not follow the things they preach, and they do not want to do the job they were elected to do. They just want to stand around and have a bunch of fake outrage and claim there's a problem that's really the cause by Democrats, but actually it's caused by Republicans, and it's further destroyed by the hands of Republicans because they do not want to do the job. And a perfect example is the border. And we see that again and again. The border bill will pass, and it's going to come at the expense of the Republican Party. And it's going to then negatively impact Donald Trump, just like everything else. The economy, COVID, the border, they're all losing issues for him, and they're all L's in his column. You also don't have to look any further than the border wall that he built that was magnificent. It was magnificent. It's falling apart. And now we've wasted, I think it's like over $1 billion or close to $1 billion. I forget the exact number, the figure, but there's a bunch of metal that's just sitting out in the elements, and it's now totally ruined because it's rusted. It wasn't treated. It wasn't put up. It was just sitting in a basically in a desert with a bunch of sand exposed to the elements to get ruined. And now we have a bunch of the border that Donald Trump said was going to be paid for by Mexico, and it never was. And it's falling apart. So then Joe Biden during his term was like, look, we got to fix these walls that you guys put up because nobody was experienced in this plan. You guys even tried to grift, Steve Bannon. He tried to grift a privatized wall, which Donald Trump gave his sign off and blessing to, which you could literally Google Steve Bannon, private wall, Trump blessing. And I'm sure that'll give you the link. It's like a Forbes article. There's other ones as well, where Donald Trump was like, yes, I give my blessing. You guys can privately fundraise money to build this wall. And I'm then going to deny the fact that you guys were defrauding investors. And that is why Steve Bannon found himself in court. That's the group. Again, I told you, these people, you don't have to go 6 degrees of separation, to find Jesus. These people who claim to be prophets and messengers and disciples of Christ, you just have to go a degree or two and you'll find one of these people that are sinners, And that is just the Republican Party, man. I got to tell you. And so anyway, I'll end up doing a what was that on this because I saw that John Voight video from the beginning that I showed, and it really was like, I can't stand this. I can't, even for someone as like myself, who again, I was raised in a Catholic household and I went to Catholic grade school and I studied Christianity. And when I see people do this, I'm not even someone who believes in religion anymore, right? I'm an atheist myself, but I know enough. When I see this, I'm going to call it out because it's ridiculous. It's just insane. And these people are so just like out there in their beliefs. So as soon as I saw that video today, I was like, I got to talk about it. I got to talk about it because it's crazy. All these people who claim to be messengers of Christ are all hypocrites, And if given the chance, they would be Judas. They would sell Christ out and they'd be like, oh, let me get those 30 pieces of silver, man. That honest to God, that is honest to God. That is the Republican Party. If given the chance, they would snitch on Jesus in that moment for a quick buck. And you don't have to look any further than the way that they handle domestic policies. They try to own the libs and shit on them for different things. They do not have the fortitude, the ability to think long-term when those things are going to come back and bite them in the ass. So good luck. It's going to be a losing one for all of them. And also Mike Johnson, it's another one of those things where Mike Johnson, his role right now as Speaker of the House, 100% on the line. He is teetering back and forth. You've got Steve Bannon going against and attacking Mike Johnson, and you've got other people coming against Mike Johnson who are saying that he's not MAGA enough. He's not going hard enough. He's not not punishing these people enough. Because, yeah, that's what Christians do. So anyway, today was another episode of What Was That? Thank you for coming by. I hope you're excited for Joe Biden to win and Donald Trump to lose and all these other people to just have a bunch of infighting. And they're doing an amazing job on their own. And if you want, you can definitely like stoke the fire and move that wedge further in between those people by calling one part of MAGA out against the other part of MAGA that are attacking each other and really, really push that in, salt in the wound. That's what we should be doing on top of the fact that we're voting. So anyway, I want to thank everyone for coming to today's show. Make sure to like and subscribe here on YouTube if you haven't already. That way you know when we go live. The show is on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's the new schedule. Thank you for everyone who's been coming over lately. You can also find us over on Twitch, twitch.tv/IamGabeSanchez. If you're over there and you're like, oh man, I didn't know that, or you're watching from there, thank you for watching. And also we have a Discord. If you want to go over there, you can go to linktree/IamGabeSanchez, click the link, join the Discord, have a live show convo. We talk about other things. Some people are trying to catch Pokemon. Occasionally I go and catch Pokemon in there. You'll understand when you see it. And of course, I want to thank the moderators, always doing a wonderful job, always working in the background, making sure that things are running smoothly. And if you are a fan of the show and you like what you see and you're like, hey, I want to send that kid a couple bucks, that kid being me. This show runs on your support. You can go to ko-fi.com. That's ko-fi.com/I am Gabe Sanchez. My goal for 2024 is to build out a team, get an editor, maybe a writer, improve the quote unquote studio that I have here in my bedroom. But again, that's my goal for 2024. So if you want to help out, you want to join, you can join on YouTube, you can join on Patreon, you can join on Ko-fi. If you just want to do PayPal, you can do PayPal as well. So I just want to say thank you all for coming to today's show. I can't wait to see you. I will be back on Tuesday. I won't be on for Bonehead. I don't think we're doing Bonehead of the Week tomorrow, or if they are, it won't be with me because I've got a shoot that I got to do tomorrow that runs during the time of the show. So in the meantime, go to Patreon if you want to get early access to episodes that are releasing. So I'll be working on a few this weekend. And if not, then I'll see you guys on Tuesday for another episode of What Was That Live? Thank you so much. And with that being said, I'll see you guys next week.